this computer. There, now we're recording. All right, so my name is Samantha Curtin. For those of you who don't know me, I live up in Brandon, Manitoba, Canada. And I actually just celebrated my 4th anniversary as a coach, which is insane because it goes by super, super quickly. I'm a 2-star diamond coach right now, and I, not saying I don't know how I did it, but I've done the same things since I started that I do now. And it's been such a slow growth, but it's a consistent growth. And that's kind of where what I'm gonna talk about a little bit today. But my topic is staying consistent when your life is anything but, because that's been my life and probably a lot of your lives too, especially with everything going on in the world. Yeah, my life has been anything but consistent, especially these last 6 months. So first of all, I think it's important to know that I'm a teacher and I built my entire business around the routine of my job and the routine of my fitness journey. So everything I've done with coaching, I did as a full-time teacher. I started coaching when I started full-time teaching, so they've kind of gone together this entire journey. And with that is like a very reliable schedule. So as a teacher, we know exactly what's going on every minute of every day, and coaching naturally fit into that. So it's all been very routine based. So these last 6 months have been challenging because for someone who thrives on that like consistency of a routine and who built their habits along that consistency of routine, it's been totally different for me, 100% different. And I had to shift and I had to transition and try different things. And I really learned what's essential and what's kind of the nice to have fluffy stuff that you can really waste your time with. So a little bit of background. Besides the obvious, like teaching full-time, transitioned into working from home. And working from home meant this with 22 9-year-olds all day long. And it became exhausting to look at a screen all day and teach tiny humans. So that alone caused me to sleep in. I slept in, which affected my morning routine, which is when I did all my coaching work, which then had me procrastinate till after school when I didn't want to look at a screen. Like that was its own beast. And then shortly after that, you think, oh, it's summer break. Awesome, it's summer, I can dive into coaching. The reality of that became I have so much time and I've already fallen so out of routine that I don't know where to pick it up again. Like I can't just start waking up at 5 a.m. It's summer. Like transitioning through that. And then the last couple months from June actually until just recently, we did IVF. So we've been struggling with infertility for 3 years. And it was just this past like June, once COVID reopened some stuff, we decided to go full blown with IVF. And that transition, I think, was the hardest of them all because at least through everything with COVID and everything with just summer routine, I could still do my workouts, like be proof the products work, show up, get the thing done, right? With IVF and all of the hormone injections, the regulations, the restrictions, I couldn't do those things. I couldn't work out the same. I couldn't dive into just that, like even more so, everything that I grew to love, I couldn't do. And I live in a city that's actually 2.5 hours away from the big city where my clinic is. So every single appointment I had to drive 2.5 hours, and they were at like 8 in the morning. So I'd be waking up super early to drive into the city, wait around for blood work and tests and pick up prescriptions and then drive back. And that was every 2 to 3 days for the entire month of July. So that gives you some perspective about how I had no routine. There was no such thing as a routine. There was no such thing as consistency. And I didn't know if I had to go to my clinic until 24 hours ahead of time. They'd be like, okay, come back in tomorrow. Or they'd say, okay, come back in the day after tomorrow. So I couldn't plan. I couldn't plan team calls. I didn't know my life 24 hours away. So one thing that I did consistently was hit Success Club. I hit Success Club. I've hit Success Club every month for the last 2 years, I think. And even during this hard time where I might not work out, I might not, like, I still can't drink Energize because I can't have any caffeine, which is so sad because Energize is my life for working. If you don't want to do your coach work, but like, go mix up some Energize and then send out some invites and you'll be like the happiest person ever. So that is something I dearly, dearly miss. Like, I would totally have it right now if I could, but just water. So yeah, where was I even going with this? I forget, I got distracted. Oh yeah, so hit Success Club. That is a non-negotiable for me. And I still aim for like Success Club 10, but if I get to 8, like, I'm not going to cry about it, but I really do try to get there. But non-negotiable is Success Club, because I know that that system is in place to grow your business. And even if it's a slow growth, even if I'm hitting Success Club 6 for 4 months in a row, it's still growth, and it's still growth in the right direction for my business. And even if my short-term goal right now is just to wake up and survive and go teach kids and hopefully grow a baby, like, that's awesome, but I'm still gonna hit Success Club because that's important too. Because down the road, I see the potential in this business. I've already seen what this business has brought to me in 4 years. And I only know that 5 years and 6 years and 7 years down the road, it's gonna be like amazing, right? So it's worth it. It's worth it to hit that Success Club 5. So what did I do? So there's a lot in this business that, so I'm the type of person, it might be because I'm a teacher, like that personality type, but I love like the graphics. I love creating the trainings. I love planning my entire September calendar and being like, I'm going to do a new coach webinar this day. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to have this call. I love the planning and I love the execution, but I learned that I had to stop biting off more than I could chew, if that makes, like, that old saying. I realized that that stuff is great. And if I had the routine and if I had everything the way it was before, I could do all those things. But it came down to the fact that in a world of the inconsistency and the lack of routine, and when you're not, like, when you're feeling like you're in a funk, you have to focus on the basics. Like, this is one of those things where you can easily waste time. If you want to make a bunch of pretty graphics and some PDFs, yes, they're going to be helpful in the long run. Like, you can use them, but those aren't the things that are going to get you to Success Club that month, right? Those are the nice to-dos, nice to haves. But the things I consistently did that got me to Success Club every month, that helped me hit 2-star, it is like the basics. Like, it is, I consistently, no matter where I was or what I was doing, I was on my Instagram story every single day. Every single day, I never missed a beat on my Instagram story. Every single day, I never missed a beat on running a challenge group and showing up in it. Even if I didn't do my workout that day or I wasn't home to drink my Shaco, I was still commenting on every post in that challenge group to say, like, awesome job. Like, you're killing it. I'm jealous that you're trying salted caramel right now. Like, whatever it was, I made sure that I was present in the group, because when people sign up with you, it doesn't end there. So that was something that was always in the forefront of my mind. And if I'm going to grow my business, coaches come from kick-ass challengers. And you're not going to have a kick-ass challenger if you're not showing up in your boot camp the way that you promised on your social media. So consistently on my Instagram story, consistently in my challenge groups, and consistently sending out those invites. And I did not send out invites every day, but the days I did, I was like, holy moly, it really helps when you send out invites, because now I have these 3 people signing up. Like, you always have to remember to get those invites out, even if it's like just 5 a day, or whenever you're, honestly, I worked my business a lot in line at the fertility clinic, because we had to stand in line with these exes for our appointments because they wouldn't give you a scheduled time. So I would get there early to stand in line, and I would work my business in my like little lineup and send out invites. So even though I wasn't home and totally out of routine, I was sending out invites in a lineup. Same with the grocery store. Sobeys, I'll send out, that's like my go-to. I like promise myself that if I'm in line at Sobeys, I send out some invites while I'm there. It's those little things that you can stay on top of and just become a new habit, right? Like, in the craziness and inconsistency, it can still be a habit to send out invites when you're like totally out of your comfort zone of your office or wherever you normally work. Something else that has been incredibly helpful, and this is actually what got me to 2-star. So if any of you are aiming for 2-star, this is my word of advice. I got to 2-star by joining, like locking arms with my runners. In the past, things like a new coach training or coaching sneak peek. In the past, I would, and this is good too, but I would run those with success partners, which went great. But I attribute to my 2-star success with running those things with my coaches, with my runners, because if as soon as I started filming new coach trainings with my 2 emeralds, they hit diamond, because they are so much more likely to share those videos, share that, like anything that you make together, they're going to share that way more than something you made and said, oh, if someone has questions about coaching, send this to them. Does that make sense? So I highly recommend you, and I had some of my coaches do this for their coaches today, but look at your downline, pick out who your runners are, and then message them and say, hey, do you want to make a new coach training together? Do you want to make a sneak peek together? Because they're going to start inviting like crap to that, because now they're the ones speaking on it. And then once it's recorded, they're going to send it out because they're in it. And it makes it that much more personable and likely for people to join them. So again, if you're making them with success partners, that's great too. I don't want to like offend anyone, but that was the change for me. That was the shift, I think, that got me there. Is like, and you're giving them more of a leadership role too, and they're learning how to talk and do these things. And once I had those systems in place, it makes everything else a lot easier. So even if I'm on the road, I can still send out a coaching video. And if someone joins, I have, like for me, I do an email series. So as soon as we sign up a new coach, I have a new coach email series. I send them email 1 and we made a video to go with it. Once they do the little assignment, they get email 2 with the video. Do the assignment, video 3, and it's just in a Google Docs. So we all have access to it, and then they can change and add their own videos if they want to replace ones that we've made or if we update them. Yeah, oh, Tiff, your coaching email series helped me hit Emerald in 2 days. True story. And she's going to hit Diamond in 2 more days, aren't you, Tiff? Yeah, exactly. So creating those duplicatable systems on those days where you want to do the fancy stuff and you want to do the fun stuff, make it something that's like long lasting, duplicatable, not just a single graphic that you're going to use once. Like use that time for something that's long term. And yay, I actually hit all my talking points on my notes, so I can stop looking at them because I was nervous. I wrote some things down. So yeah, so if you are in that series, like that transition of life, I guess, when you're going from like any of these things, you could be switching jobs, it could be going through a breakup, it could be just having some rough mental health days, because let's face it, we've probably all had those too. Those are the days where you don't lean out, you just lean in more specifically to those basic vital behaviors. And that's something else that like, it's super easy to not send invites because you're not in a good mood. But that's where even if you have some really simple invites that you can just like send out, at least it gets the ball rolling, and then normally it like lifts your mood back up, and then you can send out some more invites. Carl had that whole donuts thing where you just wake up and send out 5 invites, and next thing you know, you've sent out 50, not really 50 probably, but maybe, just because once you get the ball rolling, it's a whole lot easier. Sorry, I said I'm a lot too, but anyways, that is kind of what I did. So even in the craziness, focus on your vital behaviors, really lock arms with your runners who are on your team, and just know that it's okay not to do everything. And even if every morning, this is something else I do, every morning I write down my intentions for the day. So kind of like with my gratitude practice. So I'll write down the things I'm grateful for, and then I'll write down my intentions, and I'll do that whether it's for teaching or for coaching or for whatever. But in terms of your business, pick a single intention. Like my intention is to talk on my stories and be present about coaching. And then you're only focusing on one thing. Or maybe your intention that day is to dive into your PD, write down some takeaways and make a post about it. But if you're focusing on one thing, at least you know you'll get that one thing done and you'll get it done well. And then the other things are bonus, like those invites in the Sobeys lineup. But if my intention that day was to make spinach muffins and talk about 2B mindset, that's probably the focus of my Instagram stories, because that's the one thing I'll never miss is my Instagram stories and then my challenge. Okay. How quick was that? Oh my gosh, I'm scared. It's only 18 minutes, Jen.
No, that was awesome. Could you share, like, I know I saw in your stories today, it was the first day back to school.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of a transition time going from summer to back into school. Do you have any tips? I know we do have a lot of teachers, a lot of people that are going, back to work this week. Do you have any tips for them?
Yeah. Okay. Normally, my go-to tip would be morning routine. Set that alarm earlier. Read Miracle Morning if you haven't already. He is amazing. It's an amazing book. And he actually, for teachers, oh, I have it here. He has a book called Miracle Morning for Teachers. This is actually my current read right now. Same principles of Miracle Morning. So if you've read Miracle Morning, this book is very similar, but he gears it towards teachers. So very good. So I highly recommend this one. Also, the 5 a.m. Club is a good book for mornings, but you have to start setting your alarm earlier. It can be half an hour, then you're gonna fall in love with it if you don't already wake up early to do these things. But you'll wake up like 10 minutes earlier, and then another 10, and then another 10. And next thing you know, you are living the 5 a.m. club and waking up at 5 a.m. But that for me was the secret sauce to my business, because as I drank my pre-workout, I was working. I was sending out my invites. I was reading my PD. I was inspired AF. And I would actually put notes in my phone notes of posts that I would make later once I had a picture to go with them. But that was my most productive time, was in the morning, right before work. Lately, and I will be starting this because today was the first day of school. And before actually I started it, my husband, he works until 6, let's say. And if I'm technically, say I'm home by 4:30, I'm still home before him by like an hour and a half. And it was actually his idea that I should be working while he's at work. So I get home from work, from teaching, and then I work my business until he comes home and we spend time together. So I don't know how many of you are in that similar situation, but I've found it's very helpful just to keep working after work, because it almost just adds to your business day, but it becomes more fun because coaching it's fun work. And start with something light and fun. Check into your challenge groups first, because it always gets me like excited and going, and then dive into the rest of it. And especially if you've energized, have that second hit and then get your work done. When do you do your workouts if you're doing PD and business work in the morning, or do you work out in the morning too? I do work out in the morning too. So again, if I have to be at the school for 8, I was waking up at 5, but that was like the extreme. I started off waking up at like 6:30, and then 6:15, and then 6, and then 5:45. Like I work my way back to 5 a.m., especially at the start of the school year. Don't feel like you have to jump into 5 a.m. tomorrow. Set your alarm for even 6 or 6:30, and then you'll start to gauge how long you need. But the way that I worked it out is if I woke up at 6, I would have my energize and read my PD and do my gratitude and write some stuff down, send out some invites probably. And I gave my energize like half an hour to fully kick in. So if my alarm went off at, I can't remember what time it said, we'll say 6. Alarm was off at 6, that means I'm starting my workout roughly 6:30, 6:40. And then I'm done a little bit after 7, shower, get ready, I'm out the door for 8, right? And then you'll adjust it based on you. I ended up waking up earlier and earlier because I just liked reading my book. Like I was like, I don't like being crunched for time. And so I would rearrange some things and figure it out. But yeah, you just have to start and then see what you enjoy and see what you spend more time on and what you should spend less time on. Because don't at all go on to like social media unless it's for work. That's my number one tip. Do not wake up and scroll through Instagram. That's the worst, absolute worst thing you could do, because you can send out like so many invites in a minute, but when you're scrolling, 10 minutes goes by in no time. And so send those invites. That's what you should do. Do not scroll first thing in the morning. Every minute you scroll is like 10 invites not sent. It's a waste of your time. So don't do that. Unless you're like working on like a guided power hour and they tell you to go connect with people based on like alphabetical order, but you shouldn't just be scrolling through just for funsies. And then, yeah, working after work. I found a success partner, AKA my diamond coach, Shanique now. So as soon as we're both, she's in social work and I'm a teacher, we're off at like the same time. So as soon as we're off work, we're gonna hop on a Zoom, even if it's just once a week, but we have it scheduled. So I recommend that too. Yeah. Any other questions, Jen?
Yeah, if anyone else has questions, you can unmute yourself or in the chat. We have about 5 minutes left. So if you guys have any questions for Sam, just put them in the chat box or ask away.
Fellow teacher here, I'm definitely overwhelmed already. Honestly, that was me when I came home today. And then Shanique was like, hey, we still hopping on that call? Here's the Zoom link. And I was like, bah! It's like, I guess so. But it was amazing. And then I felt so inspired after. And then Britt was like, hey, you have that Luminous call tonight. And I was like, yeah, let's go plan for that now. Oh, I've done that. Okay, this is something else that I've done in the mornings to keep myself accountable too, is we had a club in our challenge group. So if you are nervous that you're not going to wake up and actually work out at 6:30, tell your challenge group that you're all going to do it and post a Zoom link, because then you have to show up. So that's another coach perk. How would you suggest that I grow and find new people to invite? My number one tip for finding new people is I follow friends of friends, and I create profiles of friends and try to connect that way, especially people that have a story on Instagram, because you can really connect with them faster. So go through, even if you just signed up a new challenger, go through people that liked one of her posts that you would like, and then click through. If they have a story, go watch it, comments, follow. That's kind of my advice, because I want people who are active on social media. So if they've liked a post recently and if they've posted on their story, then they're likely a good candidate for someone who will check out your stuff and see that you have that mutual friend and might follow you back. That's kind of where I start. And you can also ask your current challengers, especially if you're trying to like see if they might want to coach, if they have any friends who might want to join for the next boot camp, and offer some incentives that way too. And an example of an invite you might do, honestly, mine are super simple right now. So any day, it depends what I talk about on my Instagram story. So anytime that I talk about our Fall into Fitness bootcamp coming up, I use that in my invite. So anyone who watched that story or that liked something recently, I'll message them and say like, hey, happy Monday. Like, hope you had a great day back at school. Like if I know they're a teacher or something. And then I'll say, I'm not sure if you had a chance to check out my stories yet. And then, because life is crazy, but I am running a Fall into Fitness boot camp and there's a ton of teachers in there. I think you'd love it. Have you like ever thought about joining our boot camps, or did you want more info on that? Normally I'll end with, do you want more info? Because that's way less intimidating and people might say, sure. And then I have a email just on MailChimp that I'll send out. And yeah, my MailChimp email is normally how I go with that. So yeah, I'll just kind of say, have you seen, I don't know if you've noticed, but this is what's going on. Can I send you more info on it? Is basically like the core, and then everything around it will change. But that's kind of, I keep it really simple just because I'd want to get a simple invite. And I used to like word vomit all over people and they wouldn't answer when I was a new coach. And I've learned that doesn't work very well. So keep it simple and then send them the info. And then you can always follow up and be like, hey, did you have a chance to check out that email that I sent, or whatever you sent? Maybe you've created a video or something, but yeah. Regarding infertility are my favorite. Yeah, and sometimes I connect with people that way too, right? Like with infertility, I kind of have a different crowd that follows me for different reasons. And I have an invite as well that says like a very like a thank you invite, more so like that says like, thanks so much for following along. I'm not sure if you follow me for like my fitness journey or the recipes or my infertility journey, but either way, like I appreciate your support along the way kind of thing. And if you ever have like want to talk about any of that stuff, I'm totally here to chat to. And then sometimes they'll say, I'd love to chat actually about this, or I had a question about this. So I kind of just open up that door of communication about all the things I post about, so that they don't have to say really, like, you know, I kind of open the door for them to respond and be like, oh, I follow you because of this. And if they want to keep chatting, they will. So that's kind of been nice too. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just reading some comments. All right, well, unless anyone has anything else that they're wondering. Yeah, thank you guys. I was super nervous. This is the biggest team call I've ever talked on, so. Cool. Well, I guess at this time, we have our diamond chat. So any diamond and aboves, you guys can stick around. And again, thanks for popping on this call, guys. This was fun.
Sam, you could stop recording for this one. And then